ourselves. Starting with you, sir.
All right, I'm Sean.
I'm Tyler.
Yep. And I'm Corey, and we are the Pittsburgh Paranormal Research Team. We're heading to Waverly Hills soon. That's got to be one of my favorite things I've ever seen on TV or heard about. One of the best places to go, they say.
Yeah, they say this is easily one of the top 5 locations, haunted locations in at least this country, and it's looked at as one of the top places in the world.
It's kind of like our dream vacation to go there.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been doing this, is where I've been number one place I wanted to go.
If you talk to any paranormal investigating group, this has to be on their list of places they want to go someday, or they've already been to. Very highly regarded for activity and just being an overall wonderful experience. A lot of historical stuff to take from it too.
Yeah, I think overall, just saying that we're excited is an understatement. I personally would be lying if I didn't say I felt like a kid on Christmas.
Background that you know of?
Well, it's a big building. The building was designed to take the southwest wind straight through because at that time they thought that was a good way to keep the patients healthy, maybe even cure. It was fresh air at the time, so you'll see a lot of their beds were actually put right up against the exposed face of the building just to catch that air, bring it through. A lot of kids on the property that were there too with TB. They had a playground up on the roof.
Yeah. There's actually multiple reports of suicide in the building of staff like nurses, and they believe that a lot of that was in room 502, which is believed to be one of the big hot spots in that building. That and another area of the building that tends to draw a lot of the attention is the body chute, which is at a 45-degree angle, and they actually would have the hearses waiting at the bottom, and they would kind of send them down that chute because there was such a high death rate that was the only way they could keep up with it.
Another reason the body chute was initially the entrance for employees to come up into the building. Another reason why they used the body chute was because there were so many people dying that it was bringing down morale of the other patients to see that, so they would take them down that way. That way they were out of sight, out of mind, kind of,
A good bit of the patients spent a good portion of their lives there. One part of it.
Yeah, it's one of the speculations is that, where you spend a lot of your time throughout your life, that's where you would potentially come back to. And for some of the patients, I'm sure it was a very horrible experience. So
it was pretty much home to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and the tragic end to even just some of the other lives of maybe somebody who was murdered there or somebody who was driven to suicide. Whether their emotions or the energy from that act is still there in that building.
Imprinted on it.
Yeah. It just when you mix all that together, if you're a paranormal investigator, there's not much more you could ask for out of a location.
Yeah. And with tuberculosis, a lot of the treatments were so experimental that your survival rate was very, very low, and I can only imagine trying to make that decision to try it, that's creeper.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Yeah. A lot of people report seeing a figure low to the ground on all fours, sometimes crawling anywhere, including the walls and ceiling of some of these floors. So, that would be an experience to see that. Many people have reported seeing that thing.
What they believe that it was a patient, potentially.
There was no cure, and they were trying just about anything. And I've heard other procedures about them, deflating one lung and pumping it back up, and deflating and pumping it back up. It's a lot of experimental work. But yeah, that would be a horrible experience. They say a lot of the patients were probably awake during some of the procedure too. So I can only imagine that.
Yeah.
One great thing about this building is because they wanted so much airflow, a lot of the window frames, there's no windows, it's wide open, and a lot of people will go there to investigate and see something and think it's a reflection until they realize that there's no windows for it to reflect. So lots of reports.
The other thing we have to be careful there is because of that, the noise carries very easily. So we're going to have to really be aware of where each other's at. Make sure that we're not
Polluting.
Yep.
Yeah, contaminating.
contaminating
Yeah, we
each
have to
other's audio.
we have to watch for the contamination of even just birds, anything like that that could get into the building with no windows. You just have to be aware of all that.
Yeah.
We have just about everything up to date. We have the state-of-the-art equipment in the field. We're really excited. We're going to take our new X-Cam, which will be... It'll make its appearance in this season of Journey Till Dawn, which is our web show. But we'll actually be one of the first groups to take this piece of equipment to this location. Most of the bigger names that have been there that could afford this equipment had already been there before this technology was available. And we were fortunate enough to raise the money to get our hands on that. And we're excited to be one of the first people to take it there and give it a shot at such a potentially active location. But beyond that, the three of us will all be equipped with an HD full night vision camera. But on top of that, we will also have a night vision GoPro strapped to our shoulder. And then from there, everything.
We're going to have static cameras.
REM pods.
Yeah, REM pod, millimeter, voice recorders.
Ghost box.
Yeah, ghost box. Pretty much the standard for investigating
everything
these days. Yeah. And this is a building where we believe we can use all of our equipment well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I myself, I have to admit, the X-Cam, from what I've seen from Ghost Adventures, that's probably one of the most impressive pieces of equipment that kind of gives a skeptic like myself the jitters. When I see that stick figure with his points illuminated on that screen, and knowing how the X-Cam works myself, and experiencing the Xbox system this is built from, and I gotta say that kind of shakes me a little. So, let me say, as a camera op going on this trip, if I'm filming you guys and I see that thing start to dance on the screen, I'm going to be thoroughly impressed. I don't know if I really want to see it do that.
We actually, the way we plan on using that camera is we'll obviously be taking it around with us, and if we sit down to do an EVP session or ghost box session using the REM pod, common practice in the field is you take a device like the REM pod, which is built and it has its own field around it that you break, and then once you break that field, it goes off. And we've kind of hit the point where just seeing a piece of electronic equipment go off isn't quite enough for us. We want to see, if you can get a couple of them to go off together in series, then it kind of gives you more proof that something might be communicating with you. But our goal is to take that and use the X-Cam to try to capture maybe something coming up to that device before it will go off, which would be, to us, more solid evidence than just saying the device going off, because we all know that there are times that electric devices will go off and malfunction and things like that. It's just the nature of it.
As we speak, we're still preparing to get some of our stuff in order, like Sean was saying.
Yeah.
So,
we'll be leaving soon, and we have been going through every last thing, down to batteries, going through each piece of equipment. We actually just built more custom battery-powered infrared illuminators for our static cameras the other night because there is no electricity in this building, so everything has to be portable and self-powered, really. So that's actually one of the biggest obstacles we faced with this, aside from the sheer size of the building, is just finding a way to make sure that we can get everything to where it needs to be, to where we want it, but also have it function. Typically we go into places that are, a modern day business that had a past to it, but have full electricity, a full functioning building, and this is really the first of its kind for us.
There's multi-levels to that completely, because the sheer size of it dwarfs everything we've ever been to.
Yeah.
Most of the places we gone to is either suspected to be haunted, or people are like kind of questioning it. This is like one of the first ones is like claimed to be haunted big time.
Very reputable.
Yeah, there's actual documents to back a lot of the reports on this building.
There's been a lot of the places we go to, usually it's 1 to 3 deaths. This one's in the 8,000s at least.
Yeah.
Also, this is the first big one that we've been to that has other paranormal investigators there, so that brings another aspect to it, is potentially the spirits could be familiar with our equipment, which could be interesting.
Yeah. If they're there, they've probably seen a lot of it already, and they know how to use it.
Could be familiar with it.
But our goal with packing everything up and making sure we have all our stuff is we just want to move as efficiently as possible. We're there for a set time period, and we want to be able to get in and get everything we need.
Are you up at the top of the body chute? Can you push the ball down the steps to me?